artillery shells and 19 tank missiles in exchange for Moscow's advanced tech for satellites and also nuclear-powered submarines. Well, the news of Kim's planned visit comes after Russia said that it was discussing holding joint military exercises with North Korea. News agency Yonhap earlier cited South Korea's intelligence agency as saying that the Russian Defense Minister Shoigu, who paid a visit to Pyongyang in July, had proposed to Kim that their countries should hold a naval exercise along with China. Now, last week, US said that it was concerned that arms negotiations between Russia and North Korea were advancing actively, and that Shoigu had tried this during his visit to convince Pyongyang to sell artillery ammunition to Russia. Now, Russia and North Korea have recently called for closer military ties, but Pyongyang has denied having any arms dealing with Moscow. The US recently imposed sanctions on 3 entities it accused of being tied to arms deals between North Korea and Russia. Pyongyang is one of Moscow's close Cold War allies and also one of a small handful of countries to back Russia's annexation of various parts of Ukraine in 2022. Kim's father, the Kim Jong-il, who famously shunned planes and traveled by armored train only, last visited Russia just months before his death in 2011.
More than 2,000 troops from a Russia-led security alliance are taking part in military exercises in parts of Belarus near the borders of NATO countries. Now, the exercises of the Collective Security Treaty Organization include troops from Russia, Belarus, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan and Tajikistan. Although Armenia, which is also a member of the CSTO, did not send any of its forces for the exercises. As in January, Armenia said that it would not host CSTO drills this year amid tense relations with Russia. The exercises are taking place in 3 western Belarusian regions. Now, these areas border NATO members Poland and Lithuania. Moreover, Belarus's defense ministry has said that the exercises that are to last till Wednesday are to prepare for joint operations, including responses to a nuclear accident. Meanwhile, saying the exercise is taking place near their border, the Polish foreign minister has said that the purpose of the military exercises was to destabilize the region.
General Armageddon. It was a name which was known all across Russia and was known during all the action which started in Ukraine in 2022. Now, this man went missing. Now, a new photo allegedly showing Russian General Sergei Surovikin, that's his name, who was not being seen in public since a brief mutiny by the Wagner mercenary group in June, was published recently on social media. This happened on Monday. General Surovikin was briefly in charge of Moscow's military effort in Ukraine before the role was handed over in January to General Valery Gerasimov, chief of the General Staff. Now, in a caption, well-known Russian media personality, Ksenia Sobchak, wrote, and I'm quoting here, General Sergei Surovikin is out, alive, healthy, at home with his family in Moscow. Photo taken today. Now, it's pertinent to note that the authenticity of the picture is still unverified, but it shows a man in sunglasses and a cap walking alongside a woman resembling Surovikin's wife, Anna, and of course the man does resemble Surovikin himself. Various media outlets reported that Surovikin had fallen out of favor with the Kremlin following the aborted mutiny by the Wagner Group mercenaries in June. Reports claimed that he was being investigated for possible complicity. Last month, Russian state news agency RIA said he had been removed as head of the Russian Airspace Force, and his deputy, Viktor Avzalov, had assumed the job on a temporary basis. Now, Surovikin was widely viewed by Russian war commentators as a forceful and a capable figure. The late Wagner boss, Yevgeny Prigozhin, who died in a private jet crash last month, was fiercely critical of Russia's defense establishment. However, he spoke very highly of this man, Surovikin, calling him a man who is not afraid of responsibility.
Я призываю остановиться Противник только и ждет, когда у нас обострится внутриполитическая обстановка. Нельзя играть на руку противника в эти тяжелые для страны время.
Now, it was sometime around June that CNN reported Surovikin was a secret VIP member of Wagner. Back then, a New York Times report based on a US intelligence briefing said that Surovikin had advanced knowledge of the mutiny and authorities were checking if he was complicit.
The Ukrainian authorities are reporting some pretty impressive gains on the Eastern Front. Remember, all of these are claims. The defense heads have further added that the Ukrainian troops are now advancing south in their counteroffensive. According to Ukraine's deputy defense minister, the Ukrainian troops have recaptured a few square kilometers of land around Bakhmut. She's also reported certain unspecified gains in the Zaporizhia region. Now, Ukraine claims that it has in fact taken back about 47 square kilometers of territory around Bakhmut. Since Kyiv started its counteroffensive, Russia has not confirmed Ukraine's gains. Now, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the troops in eastern Donetsk region. Zelensky in fact presented medals to soldiers at a number of different sites, and Zelensky also said that it is important to speak with soldiers and has stressed support for them. Meanwhile, Russia has downed the Ukrainian drones over regions close to Moscow and over the Crimean Peninsula. The Defense Ministry said that the drones were targeting Moscow throughout their counteroffensive. Ukraine has attacked the Kremlin-controlled Crimean Peninsula repeatedly with drones. In the Donetsk region, heavy shelling has resulted in injuries to at least about 4 civilians at a residential area. The Russian-installed local mayor has blamed the shelling on Ukrainian forces.
One of the biggest military shakeups since the onset of the Ukraine invasion. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has now sacked his defense minister, Oleksiy Reznikov. And this comes day after Ukraine tycoon detained billionaire Kolomoisky in custody for 2 months. The question is that are all these shakeups and sacking a part of Zelensky's cleanliness drive? To shed some more light on this, we're now being joined by Olena Trigup, Secretary General, Independent Defense Anti-Corruption Committee. Thank you so much for joining us on WION, Olena.
Thank you for inviting. Hi.
Hi. Now, Olena, the Ukrainian president has called the decision of sacking the Ukrainian defense minister as a new approach in the ministry. Can you explain as to what does he exactly mean when he says a new approach?
Well, right now there is a very high public demand to completely clean up defense corruption. And since the beginning of the Russian invasion, Ukraine was in emergency mode, and they actually were trying to buy a lot of weapons and a lot of food and clothing for the military on emergency procedure. And it was not done transparently and in a competitive manner because of the war. And now, and of course, it was the responsibility of Minister Reznikov. And right now, all these deals are coming to the surface. Now, society is asking why eggs were purchased too expensively, why uniforms were purchased from Turkey, not from Ukraine. A lot of those questions. And now, there is a new agency being set up in the Ministry for Procurement, and there is demand to completely eradicate corruption in this ministry because it's a big defense budget, and Ukraine is a democracy, and society is pushing the president to deal with this.
Right, Olena, I was just coming to that the sacking of the defense minister comes a day after Ukrainian oligarch Kolomoisky was detained on charges of fraud and corruption. Talk to us if all these shakeups and sacking is a part of Zelensky's larger cleanliness drive as Ukraine battles Russia in the ongoing war.
Of course, I would like to state that it's completely not connected, the situation with Kolomoisky and the departure of Reznikov. These are separate things. Right. It has been decided for Minister Reznikov to leave a long time ago, actually. And it's a gradual process. It's just now happening in the parliament this week. But yes, I can say that, of course, like I said earlier, President Zelensky, he needs to maintain his legitimacy as the president of a country where there is public opinion, and public opinion became now less tolerant to corruption because of the war, because of how much people now are sacrificing, people now are giving lives. Now every Ukrainian has a friend or family member who died in this war, and this is why the attitude towards the government became more critical and more demanding. So Zelensky will be now trying to make such big moves. Like, remember, before he tried to fire all leaders of the recruitment centers because they were accused of corruption and so on. So it's a natural political process happening.
Absolutely, Olena. This is also one of the biggest shakeup in Ukraine's defense establishment during the war.
Well, of course, yes, because when the war started,